Hi everyone, this is Wilson Chan, and this is my behaviors bio on Marian Breland Bailey. She lived from 1920 to 2001. In her early career, she studied under the renowned behaviorist B.F. Skinner. She was the second graduate student to study under B.F. Skinner. She, along with her husband, first husband at that time, were pioneers in humane animal training. Back in those days, there was a lot of mistreatment of animals and experiments and animal training, and so she and her husband were the pioneers in humane ways of animal training. She claims that animal training can be performed by any layperson, which goes along with the behaviorism where anyone can learn these behaviors of animal training. She founded her own company with her husband called Animal Behavior Enterprises. In 1971, she and her husband started a experiment on mine detector dogs at that time, and their research was that they had a few breeds of dogs, Labradors and Basset Hounds, to see if they could detect mines that were buried in the ground. And ultimately, this experiment showed that it was not that the methods that they had used were not successful. For example, mines that were buried about 2 inches. 2 inches or 2 inches deep or more, dogs had very low success in finding those mines. Even though this research ultimately did not yield the results that they wanted, this gave way to many other detector dogs in that time. And whereas now we can see a lot of dogs, it's not uncommon to see detector dogs sniffing for contraband items in airports and in other situations. In 1961, Marian Breland published an article called "The Misbehavior of Organisms," and now this article was highly controversial because of the name itself, because it was almost a direct shot to Skinner's article, The Behavior of Organisms, from 1938. And in this article, Bailey Breland suggests that there is an instinctive drift in organisms. Now, I'm going to explain the difference between operant conditioning and how instinctive drifts kind of throws off operant conditioning. In one of her research examples, Bailey, she had raccoons, kind of very similar to the Skinner box, was trying to get a raccoon to put a coin into a slot for it to earn food. So that's operant conditioning, classic operant conditioning. Now, what happens in instinctive drift that is coined by Bailey is that you have the raccoon, you're trying to get it to put the coin in the slot, but for some reason, they observe that the raccoon, before it puts it into the slot, it just kind of scratches. It scratches the coin, and this is what they call an instinctive drift. And so then they get the food. So they're trying to get the raccoon in the way that in the previous slide in operant conditioning wants it to put the coin in the slot. However, the raccoon engages in scratching behavior. So they try to put the scratching behavior on extinction. However, after multiple and repeated trials, they found that the extinction procedures is not working on the scratching behavior, and it's not going away. So this is what she calls an instinctive drift. Raccoons in the wild claw and scratch to break apart food. And so this is an innate behavior that is resistant to extinction. Now, this is the reason why it's highly controversial is because this is actually against Skinner's theory on operant conditioning, where only behaviors that are reinforced will persist and stay. And so this the instinctive drift is implying that some behaviors may be resistant to extinction, that innate behaviors exist, and behaviors exist despite a lack of function. And so this was a alternate view in the behaviorism field. What I would like to ask Marian Breland Bailey is, what is the most interesting instinctive drift that you have found in human beings? 2, have you ever tried to put instinctive drifts on a punishment procedure? And if so, what were your findings? 3, what made you so interested in animals in the first place? And 4, what is one principle, theory, or concept of behaviorism that you disagree with Skinner the most? Thank you.